You are now listening to Effin B Radio.
And welcome to Effin B Radio. My name is Lindsay Collins, and I am your host. By the skin of my teeth, here we are, 10:06 Friday morning. Well, that's when I'm recording it. I don't know when you're listening to it, but welcome back. Thanks for being here. You get me 20 minutes and a cup of coffee. And I'm also fresh off my workout, so who knows? I get a lot of energizing thoughts when I'm moving my body. And I know I'm not alone in that, because I think that's like it's like the only reason to do it, right? People are like, why would I get out of my cozy bed and put myself through physical, tasks? I don't know. But the answer is you get a really big body high that translates into mental clarity, that translates into serotonin, that does all these things for me that help me kind of hang in there. And this week was like a fucking year long. What happened? This week, I feel like last week I did a show and then I just don't even remember. I woke up and today's Friday. It's been a blur. It was the longest weekend ever. And I'm not complaining. I'll tell you what, long weekends are hard for me because it's hard for me to disengage. I'm like a very engaged, ready to go, hit the ground running type of person. So like staring down the barrel of 5 days off is kind of my worst nightmare. And I think I've talked about this on the show before. Like I hate Saturdays. I feel aimless. I don't have any I don't know. I get really negative when I'm not doing something. I start to be like, oof, the fuck are you doing? Like just from one day off, like not even from, I'm not talking about like I watched an entire season of something on Netflix in one day with the shades pulled. I've literally never done that. I don't think I've ever given myself that pleasure. But speaking of pleasure, this weekend I learned about the pleasures of doing nothing, mostly because you're so hot you can't even move. And that was like, it was a record-breaking temperature on July 4th, not just for us here in South Carolina, for the world. And I read this article and I'm sure like all of you get really, really scared for our future when I read articles, right? Because the news is just in general bad lately. I mean, for a long time, for years now, pretty much since 2018, I haven't read a single good headline. But I got, some New York Times notification and it was like, hottest day on record ever in the history of the world. We're all going to die, basically. And that's true. Like we are all going to die eventually from something. But this meant more like the earth, we're like, we got to stop burning fossil fuels or the earth is, over. And then you go into this spiral of like, well, why won't people stop burning fossil? Like, I don't have the button to go and say, hey, I'm going to stop burning fossil fuels. Like, if whoever's in charge of that button, could we just flip it to do not burn and try to live a little longer and like have a world for my, beautiful sons to exist in at some point down the road beyond like 10 or 11 years old. And so I got like really down reading that. But then I was like, no. This is why it is more imperative than ever to do what you want in this life. Because yes, we can take responsibility for what we can take responsibility for, and we can stop, I could stop driving a car, I guess. I guess I could just walk everywhere. I could stop taking flights. Like there's so much that we can all do, but we all kind of just wring our hands and are like, what are we going to do? Oh, the earth's burning. But I think the thing for me, the takeaway is like, that's too overwhelming of a thought. But what is really important is to live intentionally and to have something that you're excited about. That you wake up every day and are like, holy shit, I can't believe I get to do this. If you're looking around your life and you're like, this is something that I dread, or this is like just not how I saw my life turning out, you can change that. And this isn't a sermon by any means, but what I learned on my week-long weekend was that I spent a lot of time with my own kids, which I do all the time anyway. I homeschool them. We all live together. I work from home. Like, we are with it all the time. Like, I don't have childcare for them. They don't go to school. Like, it's a really intense environment. So I'm with my kids all the time. But I mean, I was like hanging out with them like as if I was one of them, because I didn't have any work to do or anything that was really going on. Like, nobody was doing anything, and I'd caught up on work specifically to have that weekend off. And they are amazing. The way kids go about stuff is insane and amazing. And it doesn't take long when you're hanging out with children or like younger people in general, like even teenagers, I would imagine, although they're like annoying kind of to be around, but maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm saying that and I'm like, I haven't actually hung out with a teenager in a long time. Maybe they're fucking cool as ever. Everybody's always talking about how cool teenagers are. So maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, my kids are 10, 11, 5-ish. And it was just like from the time they get up to the time they go to bed, they're just trying to have fun anywhere they go. They're just like, what's something cool to do? And for them, because they don't have cars or money or expendable income yet, they just have to do something cool within these really specific boundaries, which are like my mom's yard, because we went to my parents' house for the weekend. We took a bunch of food and like made the most fun snacks. Like, we made BLTs, we made smash burgers, we did chili dogs, we did, oh my God, scallops, blistered shishitos. I made a cherry pie. I made a peach cobbler. It was like just a smorgasbord of making food and snacking and having nothing to do except like try to stay cool. And so I like sort of, busied myself for the first 2 days. And by the end of it, it's like, okay, it's only 1:00. What are we going to do till you guys go to bed at 9:00? And I just kind of was in the pool with my kids hanging out. And after a certain point of trying to figure out like something to do or all that, you just settle into there's nothing to do. So you get on a kid's level in a real way. And it takes a few hours. You can't just hop in and be like, oh, what are y'all kids doing? Let me get a little dose of inspiration. Like, you have to really commit. And you have to just be like, what are we doing? And you realize and remember the weird ways that kids play. Like, they just kind of, sometimes it's just, for my kids anyway, it's just like an external monologue where they're like pulling a float around the perimeter of the pool and being like, now we're going by the waterfalls. Oh no, there's like it's that kind of vibe. And it's so funny because you're like, that is, what's the point? What's the point of this? How do you entertain yourself? But it is this sort of zen place that's really hard to access for adults because they ask stupid questions like, what's the point of this? There doesn't always have to be a point to everything. And I think that's the takeaway from like spending time, extended time on a kid's level, especially my kids, because I just, I'm their mom. So of course I think they're brilliant geniuses, but my kids are very sort of self-starters, like creative, but odd in a way because they don't go to school. So they have plenty of friends. It's not like they like are the boys in a bubble, but they definitely take an alternative approach to, I don't know, most little kids. So they're like this very beautiful reservoir of creativity in a very pure form. And it's really cool to hang out with them and like get to a place where you aren't worried about time other than like, is it time to eat again? Because that's like the number one thing that kids come up for air is to be like, I'm hungry or I need a snack. And so in between then making snacks and laying around, I just was like very, very intentional about doing nothing. And I know that might sound like, yeah, Lindsay, that's what weekends are for. But to me, this was a learning experiment. Like, this was something new because I don't do well with time off. And we have a lot of things coming up. We've got the show coming up at our house, Skewers. I've been talking about it nonstop, but there's a lot to plan for. We've been doing like painting and renovating around the house, putting lights in. Jeremy's been up in the attic, like looking. He came down from the attic looking like the Swamp Thing. Like he was just somehow covered in wet mud. I was like, did you get dirty and then sweat? Like what happened to you? But there's just been a lot of projects going on, and it feels like we're always racing towards deadlines. And sometimes it can feel like spinning your wheels. And then you have to just take a second and look around and be like, why are we doing this? Why do we choose creative pursuits over like a regular job? Because sometimes I look around and I'm like, people are they're really doing it. You know, they're like doing a regular job and making regular money and just kind of planning vacations and doing all this regular stuff. And then I look at our life and I'm like, wow, we really overcomplicate it in a way. But I found that to me, there's just no other way. And if you're a creative out there who's kind of living a life that is against the grain and being like, why do I do this? Or why am I doing this? Or I should just hang it up. Because I think, you know, speaking generally, I feel like there's a lot of people in my life that are kind of at a point of inflection where they're trying to figure out why they do this kind of stuff and what's the point. Because it can feel hard, especially, I don't know, creative pursuits are it's such a roller coaster. Like you're either like on the top of the world, like doing what you love and kind of feeling like you're cheating the game. Like somehow you did this and this is what you do for a living and you live this beautiful life. And then sometimes it's like, oh, fuck, it can feel like waking up from a nightmare and being like, oh no, I've been asleep. I slept through my shift, which is my life. Like I just failed to participate in the normal things. And now I'm 37 and what am I going to do? Like I have that thought all the time. Like I'm 37 and I'm like doing my food podcast while my friends are out there like opening restaurants and, you know, doing real thing, like actually working towards something that seems attainable. And then whatever it is that I'm doing always feels insane and like frivolous or, you know, the chances are just so slim. It's like a lot of people just assume it's not going to work. And I feel like that I sort of dive in and out of those two headspaces. Like one second I'm in a place where I think that anything is possible. And then very quickly I can get into a place where I feel like I'm insane. And I'm like, just what does that mean? And what do I do about that? But hanging out with a kid and having an extended time off doing what I love, which is cooking, which is connecting with people. I don't know how I've made it this far just doing that, but I have. And I don't have any data. Do you hear that? This is the coffee. I don't have any data that's showing me otherwise, because you could look at it one way, like I'm 37. What am I doing? Or you could look at it like I've made it 37 years doing whatever the fuck I wanted to do. And that's the way I'm choosing to look at it, because the kids showed me that they're constantly making things that excite them and not worrying about where things are going. They're so in the moment. And it's something that I think, and not just in the moment, but honest in the moment. Like if they're feeling happy, it's just, that's all there is. They're not worried about when is it going to end or what's next or why does it matter. If they're in the pool pretending to be, you know, submarines, like they are the submarine, you can just play that game for hours and you can probably have a lot of clarity when you come up for air, because that's what I did. I spent time being like, man, I am a creator of beautiful things, of delicious bites, of things that hit so hard, like a ripe tomato on the 4th of July in a piece of soggy bread with Duke's mayonnaise and cracked black pepper. Like crispy bacon. Oh my God, my dad has this cool griddle, like Blackstone grill. It's just a flat top basically. And it's out by the pool. And we cooked every meal outside. And I was like, this is amazing. It's so amazing to be able to cook for yourself outdoors, be barely clothed in the sun. Just the vitamin D alone will change your perspective. It will make you feel literally brighter and lighter, and like you'll sleep well at night, just being in the fresh air and feeding yourself well and getting out of the perspective that maybe you're stuck in. And this, I didn't mean for this to be a motivational podcast. It's just kind of what I've been thinking about because I live in a place that is very, here to there. Like I feel not insecure about where I'm going, but like that all of this could go away at any time. And I think that's the trade-off when you do something or you choose a creative pursuit. You don't have that security of being like, yep, I know that job's going to be there. And honestly, maybe people in other industries don't have that right now either. Maybe the normies are like, AI is taking my job anyway, so I don't feel security. Maybe no one feels secure. It's not just creatives, but I know creatives are definitely feeling the pinch and feeling like, is this too silly? and I'm just here to say, no, it's not. In fact, if you can hang on to that sort of slightly irrational perspective, there's nothing but greatness and cheating the game on the other side. So that's my motivational up top speech for you. It's just what I learned on the 4th of July, honestly, because I ran the gamut from like, yay, time off to, oh my God, the world's burning to, oh, we're all going to die. Oh, what's the point, to kind of having total clarity around what the point is. And the point is there is no point. So you might as well just do whatever it is that you feel called to do and not worry so much about how that looks or where that's going. This is, not a popular opinion. There's plenty of people that will say, if you don't set a goal, you'll never reach it. And maybe, but I have never really set a goal in my life except for how I want my life to feel. That's the only goal I have. It's not like once I achieve X or get Y, I will have, I'll feel accomplished. It's more like I want to wake up every day and it's a feeling. It's how I feel about what's on my schedule that day. Not like if I can just make it to this day, then, or if I could just get this thing, then I'll be happy. And kids really, they really show you that. And so it was a great holiday weekend. It was truly a learning experience. And I don't often have those kind of light bulb moments, but I think stepping away, just getting out of your own space and going somewhere different, like just being at my parents' house, which is also the house I grew up in. So I do a lot of reflective thinking when I'm in that space because it's where I was as a kid. So I think it's easier for me to tap into that mindset. And then also having my own kids there, it's just really fun. And if you're feeling, I don't know, like giving up on something that you've been working on for a long time that just feels like maybe it's not panning out, or maybe you're not like ready to sign up for Threads. Like I see Threads and I'm just, maybe I'll change my mind and come around, but I'm like, I didn't do Twitter, so I don't feel like I need Threads. I just don't want any of it. I don't want another app. I don't want another reason to be on my phone more. I would like to do less of that. And I already say enough on this fucking podcast all the time. And like, people don't want to hear from me that much. You got to leave them wanting more. You don't want to be too available on Threads. So I don't know. I just was like, you don't have to opt into everything that people tell you have to do. You just don't. It's your life. You gotta live it out. You gotta play it how you feel. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry to give you a speech. It just was a big weekend in a not big way. Sometimes those are the ones that are filled with the most lessons when you slow down instead of trying to be like, oh my God, now what? I'm just always racing to the next thing. And so this is your cue. If you're listening to this and you're feeling like worried about the future or worried about what's next for you, and that ties back into so many conversations. I know a lot of people that I talk to in the food and bev industry. That's a common thought. I haven't obviously worked in it in a very long time, but when I'm still weirdly in the food industry somehow, and I'm trying to constantly find my place there, and I know a lot of you out there are too, and I think that it's just important to keep going towards things that really, really excite you, because that's probably where the answer lies, instead of trying to guess or time, the industry and be like, what's next? What are people going to go for? What should I be doing? So-and-so did this. Maybe I should do that. I think that's the other thing that kids do really well, is that they don't really worry about what other people are doing. They're more worried about themselves, which sounds counterintuitive, but really, honestly, kind of taking a moment to be a little selfish and ask yourself what it is that you want to be doing will probably help you figure that out. Because it's rough out there. And this time of year, man, it gets rough. I don't know what it is about summer that makes people question everything. But I'm with you. And I'm just going to keep doing what I love to do, which is make delicious food and talk to you and write. And I swear, every single week I have an excuse, it feels like, but this holiday weekend, it was important for me to, disconnect, not even open my computer, not turn on a microphone, not edit any audio, not do anything except feed myself well and lay in the sun, hang out with my family and rest. And that's what I did. But I am going to I say it every week. I'm going to stop saying it. I'm just going to put an episode out on Wednesday. And then that'll be better than saying, don't worry, guys, next Wednesday for real, though. But I'm going to start writing those Wednesday episodes, essays, and I'm going to finish my book. And those are my goals. And it's like, those are the things that I really do actually want to do. And it can be very easy to just put a lot of other stuff in that, in front of what you want to do. I don't know why. I think out of fear. I think people are afraid they might get what they want. And then it's like they're almost calling their own bluff. It's like, is that really what you want? You sure? Because you seem to keep sabotaging yourself in every possible way. So I'm going to take the summer to throw a party at my house on July 22nd. And I'm really excited about that as well, because it feels like an opportunity to be in the same room with a lot of other creatives and really people that I enjoy being around, that make me feel inspired, that are also doing amazing things. And maybe things that sort of suspend reality. I mean, that to me is just, that's the coolest room I can be in. So I'm excited to have everyone here. Robert Pratt is coming to town. He'll be here next Friday, a week from today. Maybe we'll do a late night episode with Robert Pratt. It's always my fave when he's in town to get him on the show. And we're going to be cooking snacks. I'm very excited about it. There's going to be ice cold something or others and amazing art. So if you haven't RSVP'd, you can DM me on Effin B Radio on Instagram, or you can email me at effinbradio@gmail.com. That's EFFINBRADIO@gmail.com to RSVP for Skewers, an excellent art show with very good snacks. July 22nd, 6 to 9. Do it. Come support, come support all of us insane people who think that somehow doing whatever you want should be the way people live. No, I think it's I'm oversimplifying it. It's not just doing what you want. You have to do so much more than that to make it in this world as an artist. But if you're out there and you're questioning things, just know that you're not alone. I'm with you, and so are so many people who are doing the same thing. But take a minute to make a BLT. Feed yourself. Get some sunshine and rest. Do nothing. Play with some, even grown-ups. Grown-ups can do this with each other, but they again think it's frivolous. I'm like, just do something silly that has no point. It'll change your perspective. And I'll see you next week. Bye, 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 bye.